Call to order the September 4th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Dylan Douglas and the Pledge of Allegiance by Jamie Lester.
Bow your heads and pray with us if you would. Dear Lord, we pray in thankfulness that you granted everyone here safe travels this evening. Pray that you would continue to be with us and grant us safe travels on the way home. We pray that you would also grant safety to all the first responders serving our community. We pray that you would grant guidance to the local leaders here, as well as not present, as well as our national leaders as well. We pray for the continued recovery effort for so many families in our community still dealing with damage from Hurricane Helene last year. We're coming up on the year mark, and we pray that you would continue to aid us in our perseverance in our recovery efforts. In your name we pray. Amen.
Flag, United States, America, Republic, which one nation, God, justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start with a roll call. We do have a quorum today. We have one absent. I'd like to get approval of minutes from the previous meeting, August 21st, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, August 21st.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. And I need approval of the agenda for this evening.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. The decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners on final action on September 16th. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Mr. Douglas to obtain a request to speak form. Any request with a public hearing will have a minimum of 10 minutes permitted per side for the presentation of opinions, data, and evidence by proponents or opponents of a request. The applicant will be allowed to speak first, and any member of the public may speak after. Either side may cede their time during the hearing if they so desire. Getting right into the debate agenda, new business, a preliminary plat, H1A1 Southwind Village Phase 1. Danielle?
Yes, sir. This is a preliminary plat for Phase 4 of Southwind Village off Hereford Farm Road. This shows the location of the property on the west side of Hereford Farm Road, and it is currently zoned R2 single-family residential. This section of the development includes 80 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 10,005 square feet and an average lot size of 10,766 square feet, which meets the requirements of the R2 zoning district. Required setbacks are a minimum of 55 feet from the center line of the roads and 10 feet from the side and rear property lines. There is 20 acres of open space in this section, which includes the required buffers, and sidewalks and street trees will be provided on both sides of all roads. Staff is recommending approval.
Thank you, Danielle. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Southwind Village Phase 4 off Hereford Farm Road.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item, H1A2, Wrights Farm, 4 off Reynolds Road, 93 lots. Danielle?
Yes, sir. This is a preliminary plat for Section 4 of Wrights Farm off Reynolds Road. This shows the location of this section, which is on both sides of Reynolds Road and is currently zoned plant unit development. This section includes 93 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 9,437 square feet and an average lot size of 11,436 square feet. The required setbacks are a minimum of 25 feet from the back of curb and 10 feet from the side and rear property lines. There is 3.28 acres of open space in this section, including the required buffers, and sidewalks and street trees will be provided on both sides of all roads. There are some interdepartmental comments yet to be satisfied, but once those are satisfied, staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat.
Thank you, Danielle. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Wrights Farm, Section 4 off Reynolds Road.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Massage operator's license, H1B1. This is Denise Devereaux, DBA Denise Devereaux, LMT MMP. Will.
Claim of Sheriff's request for a massage operator's license for Denise Devereaux, DBA Denise Devereaux, LMT MMP. This is a relocation of 4414 Herber Farm Road for on-site and mobile massage services. She meets all the requirements of the ordinance. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Will. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the massage operator's license for Denise Devereaux at 4414 Herb Farm Road and mobile services.
I'll second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Public hearing part of our debate agenda, H1C1, variance 25-09-01. That's Will.
Under Sheriff's request for a variance at 84 Chigo Lane, currently zoned R4, recreational residential. Variance is section 9-53 to reduce the rear building setbacks for a pool and associated structures. Shows the location of the property off Chigo Lane within Chigo Highlands. And again, currently zoned R4, just as everything around it is as well. Again, it's out at the lake, pretty typical zoning out there. Shows the aerial view of the property, plat of the property, and the overall site plan. So what we're dealing with is we're backing up to core property here. They want to put a pool within the 10-foot rear setback. There's also a retaining wall back there as well. Probably going to be a fence at some point, either on top of the retaining wall or beyond it. So we're going to have to reduce the setbacks down to 0 for everything to work out in this situation. Again, it is next to the core property. Again, this kind of gives you a close-up of what's going on with this. Again, the pool is really the major concern here with this, within the rear setback here. And it shows up the proposed pool location, again, the planter and retaining wall. Again, we're getting closer and closer into showing you kind of what all is going on with this. And with the health department plan, there's the septic system is on the other side of the house. So again, the pool is away from that. And overall, really no concerns. Again, it's backing up to the lake. Really no impact on anybody out there except for the lake property itself. As is typical now with the core, we do have a condition requiring an as-built survey to ensure that they're not going over the core line. They get a little excited about that. Also does require an easement encroachment agreement, which we have in hand. Staff recommends approval of those 2 conditions. That includes staff recommendation.
Thank you, Will. Will the owner, Christopher Walker, or applicant Gary Bennett with Southern Civil Solutions LLC would like to come forward and add anything to the presentation? Okay, thank you. Any other member would like to speak for or against? Very good. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval with conditions of file VA 25-0901 variance to reduce the rear setback at 84 Chigo Lane, 0 feet for pool and associated structures.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next item on the public hearing, H1C2, RZ 25-09-01, rezoning from C1 to RA. Dylan?
Yes, sir. As you said, this is an application for rezoning at 5605 Old Augusta Highway to rezone a property from C1 neighborhood commercial to RA residential agricultural. This shows the location of the property, again, on the north side of Old Augusta Highway and Gordon Highway. As you can see here, again, the property is zoned C1 neighborhood commercial. That's kind of that pink color. And as you can see, it's surrounded on all sides by this kind of pale green color. That is the color of the RA residential agricultural zoning district that this application is seeking for this property. That's just kind of a testament that this zoning district will fit the surrounding character and pattern of development in this area. This is an aerial site of the photo. As you can see, there's a couple existing structures out there, and this is an existing site photo. Back in the 90s, when this property received that commercial zoning, it was an operating business. It has since not operated for some time, and so it would now be required to effectively be upfit or redeveloped for commercial operation. That is something that the property owner is not interested in at the moment, and so he is looking to rezone the property so that he can use it residentially. This is a plat for the property, again, with the parcel in question there indicated by the star. The only issue with the property is that the minimum lot size for the residential agricultural zoning district is 2.5 acres. This parcel on its own is only 2 acres, so it couldn't re-enter into this zoning district without meeting that 2.5 acre minimum. Luckily, in this case, the property owner and applicant also owns the adjacent parcel shown here. The Lot 5, shown directly to the right of our indicated of our parcel in question. So he is proposing to combine those two parcels to give the parcel in question enough acreage to be rezoned. Again, the rural neighborhoods character area is what we're working within on the Vision 2035 Future Development Plan. That character area is typically earmarked for residential use specifically with low-density development. Again, this is another example of a way that the RA zoning district fits this area more appropriately than the C1 zoning district. And so staff has no qualms about the request, other than to require that that combination plat for the two adjacent parcels sharing ownership needs to be recorded within 60 days of final decision on this application.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. Will the owner or applicant, Marion or Heather Stevenson, would like to come forward and add anything? Okay. Any other member of the audience would like to speak against or in favor of this? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval condition of file RZ 25-0901, rezoning from C1 to RA at 5605 Old Augusta Highway.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next order of business, H1C3. This is a rezoning 25-0902. Rezoning from C2 to C3. Danielle?
Yes, sir. This is a request for a rezoning of the property at 270 Rose Street from C2 General Commercial to C3 Heavy Commercial with a conditional use for automobile or truck storage. This shows the location of the property on the north side of Rose Street, behind the commercial on Bobby Jones Expressway. And this property is zoned C2, as is most of the surrounding property. This S1 just to the west is zoned for self-storage, although it's not developed yet. And the other C3 properties you see in the area are a couple existing contractors' offices, and then the other C3 was actually zoned for previous RV storage, although their conditional use for that purpose has expired. This shows the area of the site. It is currently undeveloped, and a photo of the existing site. And the proposal is a pretty straightforward development concept. The property would be leveled, fenced. It would have parking spaces installed for the RVs and boats, detention, landscaping, all of the typical requirements. We will see a variance request following this rezoning to use gravel for a portion of this, but the basic development plan is fairly straightforward. In terms of future development, this is in the mixed-use activity center. Typically what we would be envisioning and encouraging in this area are higher density, compact, walkable developments, commercial, professional, civic uses, restaurants, hotels, things of that nature. The caveat to that is that this particular area has no sewer service. So this portion of this character area, that density is difficult to achieve right at the moment because you have to develop on septic or you have to pay to extend the sewer. It also is generally developed in a heavy commercial type pattern. There's a lot of contractors' offices back here. We have existing approval for self-storage in this area, some automotive repair businesses, things that are generally heavy commercial in nature. And placing them back here in this area does fairly effectively screen them. It's not a kind of primary frontage in this character area. It's kind of tucked back here in this off the main thoroughfare area. So while industrial uses in this character area ideally should be located at the perimeter to hide them to an extent, this location kind of accomplishes the same thing just because it is tucked away off the main roads. That being said, industrial uses in these character areas should have development standards applied to them. So we do have some proposed conditions with this. We are proposing conditions requiring a minimum 20-foot buffer and/or landscape strip on all sides of the property. And we are proposing a condition regarding architecture and materials on any buildings on the site. Now, the current site plan does not call for any buildings, to be clear. They are planning to just have the pavement and the parking spaces at this time. But that C3 zoning would allow for uses that could have buildings in the future, and so this would cover any future development of the site under this zoning as well. And staff is recommending approval with those conditions.
Thank you, Danielle. Will the owner, Shirley Bracewell, or applicant Deborah Powell like to come forward and add anything? Okay, thank you so much. Any other member of the audience would like to speak against or in favor of this? I have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval with condition of file RZ 25-09-02, rezoning from C2 to C3 at 270 Rose Street.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. And this is related H1C4, the variance. Danielle?
Yes, sir. This is a request for a variance to section 90-133, which is the parking section of the county code. And this is to allow gravel parking on the property at 270 Rose Street. This is the same property we just looked at for the rezoning on the north side of Rose Street, and it is currently zoned C2, and it is currently undeveloped. Again, the plan is to develop an RV and boat storage facility. The applicants are proposing to pave the drive aisles and leave the parking spaces themselves gravel. County code does require off-street parking to be paved with either asphalt or concrete, so the variance request is to permit gravel for the parking spaces. There's a bit of a history with gravel parking variances in the county. We've approved some, we've disapproved others, just depending on location. Most recently, there was gravel allowed for RV trailer storage off Grimaud Boulevard, but we've also turned it down, including in this area, just down the street from this property, for a contractor's office that wanted to use gravel for their storage area, and that was denied in this location. As we saw with the previous rezoning application, this is in an activity center. The intent in this area is to encourage higher quality site design and development. So in this location, staff is not recommending the use of gravel. We are recommending that they be required to follow the ordinance, and we are recommending disapproval of the variance.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. Again, the owner, Shirley Bracewell, or the applicant, Deborah Powell, would like to come forward and speak. Speak your name and address for the record, please.
Deborah Taylor Powell. The reason for this, for a large part, is so that we have the flexibility of putting different width property parking, as well as different length as the demand might change from time to time. And if we put in the pavement, I feel like we might need to stripe it. And I don't really want to stripe it because I'm afraid that it would limit what could be parked in one spot versus the other a little bit in width. That's a portion of it. Also, I like it to help with the water runoff because I feel like the gravel will also help absorb and control the water runoff more than some of this pavement would. So our goal was to landscape around the gravel just as we would the pavement, but I feel like that with the gravel you're going to control runoff a lot more. Even though we do have a plan for a drainage pond, I want to be able to control that water runoff and put that back in the ground as much as possible, and then do that by avoiding blacktop. That was the purpose of that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any other member of the audience would like to speak in favor or against? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend disapproval of file VA 25-0902, variance to permit gravel parking for a proposed RV and boat storage facility at 270 Rose Street.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries disapproval. R H1C5, the rezoning 25-0903. This is Danielle.
Yes, sir. This is a request for rezoning 2 parcels off Columbia Road from planned unit development to S1 for a proposed solar farm. If this request seems familiar, we did see this application earlier this year. It was withdrawn by the applicants at the Board of Commissioners, and they have revised the site plan and the narrative and resubmitted for this rezoning. The 2 parcels are on the south side of Columbia Road, adjacent to Ivy Falls and High Meadows, and are currently zoned planned unit development, as is most of the surrounding property. Immediately to the west is the fairly recent S1 that was approved for an athletic complex and some commercial use, and then you have Patriots Park across the street as well. These properties are currently undeveloped, as you can see here, and from the existing site photo. Currently, they are approved for planned unit development, so they are approved for some commercial and professional use on kind of the more easterly of the 2 properties, and for townhouse development on the rest of the property. There is some significant topography on the site that has made development of these properties challenging. So you can see here kind of the buildable area based on the topography and the existing stream features and associated buffers and such. So there are certainly areas of the property that are not buildable due to just the nature of the site. The proposed site plan, the changes that we were looking at from the previous application is a larger setback from Columbia Road. That is a 200-foot setback from the center line of Columbia Road, as well as a commitment to a 25-foot buffer on all sides of the property. We'll see that staff is recommending a condition for a larger buffer. For most intents and purposes, a utility scale solar facility like this is effectively an industrial use. It's a major utility under code, or at least that's the closest thing it fits in our code. And industrial uses against residential would typically require a 40-foot buffer. So we are recommending that they be held to that 40-foot buffer rather than the 25 feet that they had proposed in the narrative. They do have a significantly larger buffer on kind of the southeastern side of the property where the existing creek is. A good bit of that they won't be able to touch due to the creek and the stream buffer there. The reason they picked this site, they expanded in the narrative that this is a location that Georgia Power has the capacity to accept the power from this facility. So this is the hosting capacity map from Georgia Power that shows that they can accept the power into the system in this location. In terms of future development map, this is in the neighborhood character area. Generally speaking, this area is intended for single-family residential use. Now, obviously, the property is currently zoned for a mix of commercial and townhouse use, which is not single-family either, but that is pre-existing zoning prior to this particular future development map. So it can be developed that way by right. Changing the zoning for the solar farm, obviously, there are some utility uses, some light industrial uses that need to be in these locations. Cell towers are another pretty common location of things that need to be in residential areas or in areas where you wouldn't necessarily think of them as neighborhood uses, but they need to provide that service to these areas. However, when we do have to locate these types of uses in these areas, we want them to be as hidden as possible. So we do try to locate them on the periphery and off of major roadways as much as possible. This is kind of the opposite of that. It's on a major roadway in a developing residential and commercial area. So this is not the ideal location for this, in staff's opinion, based on the future development plan. So staff is recommending disapproval. Again, if the commissions are inclined to recommend approval, there is a recommended condition to require the wider buffers on this site.
Thank you, Danielle. Will the owner, GVS Holding LLC, or applicant, Bijan Solar LLC, would like to come forward and add anything? State your name and address, please, for the record.
Yeah, it's Warren Critco, 100 Chimney Springs, Tyrone, Georgia, 30290. I think she did a great job of being able to explain what we're attempting to do here and how we're trying to work with the commission to ultimately come inside of all of the setbacks and whatever we can do to make this aesthetically pleasing as possible and build in the proper buffer zones to comply here with a solar array. Obviously for us, we know that Georgia Power needs the additional generation that's here locally that helps to support the neighborhoods that are already existing, and hopefully long-term be able to keep the power prices for everyone in the community lower. At the same time, I know the big concern, at least in the last time that we spoke, was just visibility of the array itself. We have moved those setbacks back considerably further, 200 feet from the road, so it's going to be very hard to see from the road the way that it is currently addressed in the plan above, and so we feel like we can, help mitigate that pretty well. As far as from the neighbors down in the south, obviously we feel the same way. We are going to have, not only, 7 or 10 foot fence that would go around it, but we would also have extensive shrubbery and trees and stuff that would grow and develop over time as well. That would help to hide that significantly, and we feel from all areas. We're more than happy to comply with the staff report recommendations. They're all acceptable to us, and we can make those we can address the 40-foot buffer, potentially maybe even do a few more feet if that's what the committee would like. And I know that there's been, at least in the last time that we were here, there were a lot of different concerns, I think, from the community, just as far as like questions about solar, questions about weather or temperature and different things like that. I am prepared to speak to some of those today. I don't know if those questions will still be arose today or not, but if I have a chance to rebuttal some of that afterwards, maybe we can try to keep it shorter for time's sake on that particular part. Having to do it now, so. Other than that, what we're attempting to do, or what we would like, is to have an approval with the conditions, if possible, because we're happy to do whatever we can do to meet.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other member of the audience would like to speak in favor? Anyone here would like to speak against? Board? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mark Abels. Live at 114 Grindle Shoals, Grubtown, Georgia. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm not standing up here to be opposed to renewable energy by any means, but I advocate for responsible planning. While solar farms can offer benefits, we must also consider real and documented risks, especially when they come to the placement near homes, wetlands, and vulnerable ecosystems. From cybersecurity threats that could disrupt the grid, to hazardous waste, poor drainage maintenance, and long-term abandonment, these are not hypothetical concerns. They're backed by studies, and they can affect communities like ourselves. Tonight, I hope to give you a little bit of new information that maybe you haven't heard before when it comes to this information, as I know that you have had this information brought to you before. But when it comes to some of the maintenance needs, the first thing I think of is I'm right up against the side of that, the bottom side. I'm right on that creek there. And I can tell you, the first thing I see is some of the devastation that happened from the storm. We had a lot of trees down that went and laid across the creek, and now during weather storms, that creek backs up a lot more, and it backs further and further into my residence. Now, I'm told that the business owner is supposed to be maintaining that area as it is, or I'm sorry, the property owner is supposed to be maintaining that area as it is owned by him. If you would like, I can show you these pictures here that show my particular area that shows very well that they're not very well maintained. Would you like me to bring it up front? Okay. That picture, you can see that there are several down trees, some that are spanning across the creek itself, and in some cases, there are full screens that are created that block water from flowing, and again, will end up overflowing into my area and several other residence areas. So that is one of the first concerns that I see as far as how it will directly affect neighbors. I'm sure that they will address wanting to be able to address that in the future, as I know that's that will be brought up. But if they haven't done it now, what makes you think they're going to do it in the future? Next, as we know, there can be different types of hazardous waste that can come from solar farms. From the actual plates themselves, they can actually leak certain chemicals, and there is certain amounts of batteries that have to be stored on site. They can leak and leak into the ecosystem. And I have done numerous amounts of reading where there are solar farms that have had environmental issues with this. When it comes to cybersecurity risks, which is a little bit more in my realm, I did some actual looking up on this one, and I found that there's actually been some research into this. It looks like there was a frontier in energy research in 2023, and a minimum review titled Cybersecurity of Photovoltaic Systems, Challenges, Threats, and Mitigation Strategies warns that the PV system relies on IT infrastructure, making them vulnerable to cybersecurity attacks. So overall, what this one, and also Forescout Sundown investigation from 2025 says, is that additionally 3,500 solar-powered systems are exposed to internet-based attacks across 42 vendors. So what can happen from these is different type of attacks where they can either take down the grid, which doesn't necessarily affect the community unless it is directly providing to the community, or it can do things that can damage the actual equipment and even cause fires. There's ways that they can send certain direct attacks that affect specific systems. And these systems, if directed properly, can tell a system to overheat. They can tell something to spin faster than it should, or just tell something to just not work properly. And in that case, it will maybe start functioning in a way it shouldn't and catch fire. Is there the proper fire suppression systems in all cases? Maybe, maybe not. And that might be something that can be squashed, but ultimately, when it comes to cybersecurity, I think my overall concern is the potential for fire. Then we're all concerned about property value. How is it going to affect our property value? I myself attempted to get solar power because I think we know our power bills are not going down anytime soon. Well, I wasn't allowed to get them because I was told by my HOA that it would take away from the value of my home and the neighbors around me. Well, I've seen a couple studies. I researched it pretty well. I think I found, somewhere around 8 or 9 studies. There were some that were neutral and said that it doesn't affect it, some that said it goes down, some that says it goes up slightly. But the overwhelming stated that it would decrease slightly. Now, there was one that popped out. It was from the University of Rhode Island. It stated, it's from June 2025, and it used satellite imagery that showed that the homes that were with direct line of sight from solar farms were more than likely to experience value decretion in rural zones. So I don't know what direction those plates will be aimed towards. I don't know if it's going to be aimed towards me, or towards the left there, but either way, I don't feel like that's a risk I would like to take. And I'm not planning on selling my house in the near future, but it could be sometime soon. I hope I'm not going long, but I just have a little bit longer.
Just one more minute, please.
Okay, I'll try and make it quick.
Right about, yeah.
All right. With that being said, the property owner and company hasn't reached out to any of us. I don't feel like they will be of value to our community. And with that being said, I think this is overall a bad decision to allow this in our community. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. We have any questions? Thank you.
Unless he wants to rebuttal.
Yes, he can come back up.
So you can still have other people come up and say,
So let's get all the
Okay.
folks that want to speak first, and then we'll do rebuttal.
That'll be fine. Any other member of the audience who'd like to speak against, come forward and state your name and address, please. 5 minutes.
I'm going to be quick. Joanne
Okay.
Murdoch from 1547 Swint Road. I'm not going to get scientific on you. I'm here about location, location, location. And that location is not appropriate. First of all, it doesn't match your, as y'all know, comprehensive plan Vision 2035. Second, it's off a main roadway and across the street from the beautiful Patriots Park that the whole county loves. Not fitting for that location. And I just hope you follow through with what they did 2-3 months ago and vote to disapprove it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other member would like to speak against? State your name and address for the record, please.
Brenda Heidman, 104 Hot Springs Court. I'm here to ask that you don't rezone that land across from Patriots Park for a solar panel farm for the following reasons. In July 2023, a solar panel farm in Nebraska was damaged by a hailstorm, causing the release of toxic chemicals into the soil. In March 2024, a solar panel facility in Houston, Texas, was damaged by a hailstorm. I have this information from the Institute for Energy Research describing the effects of damage from the hailstorms. Toxic chemicals, lead, cadmium, and more escape and enter the environment during damage, destruction, or disposal of solar panels. Toxic chemicals contained in the solar panels are expensive to clean up. Columbia County experiences hailstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes. The risk for solar panel damage is great. A nearby creek near the site will spread the toxic chemicals into surrounding areas. If this happens, toxic chemicals will render the land useless for living, building, planting, etc. Property values will drop. The proximity to Patriots Park will endanger that beautiful park. Solar panel farms last only 25 years. Then panels have to be replaced and recycled. The Nebraska solar panel farm lasted 4 years. The Texas solar panel farm lasted 2 years. Recycling facilities are scarce and expensive. Solar panels are expensive to recycle. Panels have to be handled carefully so they don't break. By 2021 estimates, the cost is $20 to $30 per panel to recycle. We have to think about future consequences for ourselves, children, and grandchildren. We can learn from other states and counties. Ultimately, it's Columbia County residents who will end up suffering the risks and consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the audience would like to speak against? Come forward. Oh. Ma'am?
Evening, Ruth Prohaska, 201 Newland Circle. I didn't come to speak, but I have firsthand knowledge of these solar panels. My parents are in Pensacola, Florida, and they have a solar panel farm directly behind their house. I very much worry about the electromagnetic field that's there. Another resident here brought up that Patriots Park is right there. My children played ball there for years and years. Think of all those children that'll be there playing, don't know how far the reach is, but I would say that's probably close enough that there would be some kind of an impact on all the families and kids that play at Patriots Park. And this guy lives 2 hours away. He's not concerned about our community. We live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would you like to come up? I think you answered in the previous time, you brought this forward about the technology part of the panels and them infiltrating our system.
Correct.
So you
Yeah.
answered that, so.
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, just to touch on it again, a lot of that is Chinese manufactured inverters, and we're not using those Chinese manufactured inverters on this particular project. That is a concern we're more than aware of. Like I said, the owner of our company is ex-military and is fully aware of those things and pays attention to those things, and it means a lot to him. So we've made sure that none of those components are going to be in our system, first of all. And then hazardous materials, that was one of the first things that was brought up. And hazardous materials in solar panels is definitely something that is true. But that really all depends on where you source your solar panels from, what you paid for those solar panels, and ultimately what is in them, because not all solar panels are the same. I'd definitely like to address that misconception. Our solar panels are going to be made here in the state of Georgia by Hanwha Q-Cells, who has a manufacturing plant that's up in the Adairsville, Georgia area. So these would all be coming from a Georgia manufactured solar panel provider. And as far as the hazardous weights and materials, a lot of our stuff has changed. The technology has changed. It's all silicon cell based. It's 77% glass. It's encased very well. You can pretty much take like a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to the front of a panel and still not destroy it. It would simply just crack. Most of the time, whenever there is hazardous stuff, we're talking about older technology. We're definitely not talking about the stuff that has been rated and environmentally protected, like the panels that we're using here from Hanwha Q-Cells here in Georgia. Value decreasing from a solar field being nearby. We've looked at different reports as well, and we don't see anything that's concrete or conclusive that says 100% if there is solar farm anywhere in the general vicinity of your home, that the price is going to be affected. Now, we're going to do everything within our ability to make sure it's as aesthetically pleasing as possible so that they can't see it. If you can't see it, the impact on that home is going to be very minimal. We're also using like non-glare panels as well, so it's not like you're going to be sitting with a mirror in the back of your house and you're worried about, light or something ricocheting. Everything is all non-reflective materials that are being used, and it's a matte type of panel specifically for that reason, just to make sure that you don't have any glare from there. Currently, one of the things we wanted to say is that, I know that the community would love for it to be used as it's currently planned, and we totally get that. It's just unfortunate that that particular piece of land will never be used for any of the stuff that it was potentially, originally planned for, just because of the topography, the creeks, the wetlands that are there. It's a super expensive project to be able to get in and try to develop, because the landowner has actually attempted to do that several times. That was his original thing, was to do a multifamily or a commercial dwelling there. And unfortunately, every developer came back to him and said, hey, look, it's just not cost effective to be able to do any of that there, which just leaves him with the property in some other way of trying to figure out how he could utilize it. Let's see. But currently, to that point as well, is that what we're seeing now is we came in as the developer. I mean, we ultimately want to make it look nicer. We'd like to address the concern that the gentleman had here earlier as well about trying to dress up the creek if we can to try to get the trees and stuff out of there as well. We're more than happy to put that as part of one of our contingencies, in moving forward, that we would do that. I'm more than happy to address that to make this look and be positive for the community. But currently, right now in its current state, we're seeing that a lot of people are using it as a trash dump. And if we're worried about, contaminants and things like that being into the property right now, people are driving down one of the access roads on the backside of the property, and they're dumping hot water heaters, refrigerators, all kinds of different junk. And that stuff that you would have seen in one of our environmental reports that we provided was the use of people are doing that. We want to get in there, clean that up, get all of that out, and obviously at our expense. But, being left as it is right now, although we would love for it to just be a green pasture, it's actually being used more for a dump by local people. I'm not sure who those people are, but that's currently what's happening. Now, as far as the toxic chemicals and stuff inside of panels, like I said, hopefully I've addressed that. NYQ cells, they have all of the environmental ratings and stuff on their panels. They're not using all of the toxic materials that have been in other solar panels, so please don't confuse the two of those. They've got tons of material and data inside the spec sheet to be able to address that. Outside of that, tornadoes, storms, they definitely happen. I mean, I know that there was a storm and tornadoes and stuff that happened just in the last year. The good thing about solar, though, is that solar, in very few cases, have ever been seen as a projectile. The panels themselves are over 50 pounds a piece, and they're all being, engineered for wind load ratings up to like 155 miles an hour plus. That's the reason why we drill, all of the intentional posts and stuff further down into the ground to handle the wind load, and how they're strapped accordingly is all done by engineers, obviously here with the state and with the county and their approvals. So, the likelihood of something bending or breaking is a lot higher than something flying off, which I know was a concern. Maybe not raised fully today, but was definitely in the last meeting. Let's see. Outside of that, as far as anything getting into the streams, we are working with the Army Corps of Engineers. We are working with the state, with the stormwater, and any of their recommendation guidances. If we needed to have a retention pond or anything to make it, to catch any water or anything that would be coming downstream, we're more than capable and happy and planning to do that under their recommendation. So, let's see. And outside of that, I know that one of the things that was brought up by one of the ladies that was here earlier, she said that solar panels only last 20, 25 years. Well, I mean, they've come a long way since then. They last significantly longer. The power purchase agreement that we're in with Georgia Power for this specific site is for 35 years plus 2 5-year potential extensions from there if, it's still creating enough power at that point and they wanted to explore it. So the panels will last the full length of that agreement. So, and at the end, we do have a decommissioning process where we would come in at the end of the agreement with the landowner now and remove all that back, and restoring the property to exactly how it is today. Obviously, maybe slightly better since we would have made some improvements. So, maybe at that time, it is that green space for the rest of eternity, here in the town, but we can utilize it for a little while, and he can, be able to recoup some of the money from his investment in the land as well. So,
Okay.
that's all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any questions?
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I think, if you can address, were you planning on fixed panels? Are these articulating as the sun moves, they move? What's your thought on that?
They go east to west.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a tracker system just east to west.
This way to working that way.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted, the public would know.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Any other member of the audience? This will be the last one I'll take. Just state your name and address, please, for the record.
Blaine Carter, I live at 861 Deerwood Circle. I've been in landscaping for 38 years. I've done site prep. The topography of this land, no matter what they do, water's runoff is going in the creek. Doesn't matter who, with the Corps of Engineers or whatever, designs it. I've seen time and time again where buffers, embankments, swales, retention ponds, all of the water ends up in the ground and it goes into the aquifer. So that, no matter what they say, it will happen. With that, solar panels and everything are ugly. And this is across the street, basically, from Bartram Trail, the park, the fairgrounds. It's adjacent to Ivy Falls. The proposed benefit that this gentleman just spoke of is a reduction in our power, which is laughable, simply because our county commission is entertaining a data center, and the proposed benefit is a reduction in our power, a reduction in our tax, for homestead exemption. And I think that is laughable also, simply because we just paid for, as taxpayers, Plant Vogel's new reactors, and none of us have seen a reduction in our power bill. So if the only benefit to any of the community members is a proposed tax benefit or power reduction, let's say, then I say that's, it's not worth the land. The land is a nice piece of property, And any developer would go in there and develop it and build houses on it, even if it cost a little bit more, if they wanted to. So we have a homeowner, and it's my understanding, I could be wrong, that he owns land in Westlake or property in Westlake, and he'll be the only beneficiary from the county, the way I see it. So I would highly encourage you to. Thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend this approval for file RZ 25-0903, rezoning from PUD to S1 for tax map 061 parcels 2140 and 2141 off Columbia Road.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries disapproval. Next on the list here, we have H1C6, RZ 25-09-04, rezoning from C2 to M1. Dylan.
Yes, sir. As you said, this is an application for rezoning from C2 to M1 for a portion of a parcel at 475 Lewiston Road. This is the entire parcel. The area that we're looking at specifically is right here. This is the zoning of the parcel. As you can see, it's split zoned M1 and C2. Again, the area that we're looking at is right in here. They're kind of looking to complete this site within the greater parcel to develop for a combination of a self-storage building as well as RV and boat storage. Important to note on this slide here, the uses surrounding that specific area that's in question to the north and to the east are both auto repair businesses. To the south is an unmanned cell tower property with significant separation from the site as well, with natural vegetation between the cell tower and the site itself as well. We'll explain a little more why that's significant here in just a moment. Again, this is a close-up view of the site that's in question, and again, that zoning line kind of splits this site, and it would hinder development because there is a buffer requirement between M1 and C2 property. This is an existing site photo. Currently, it is used for storage of the budget truck rental business that's operated out of a building that's already on this parcel. And this is a slide depicting the topography of the site. That'll be a little more significant because there's a companion variance application to go along with this site's proposed development, and we'll discuss that when we discuss that application. But again, the proposed use for this site is storage of 2 or 3 varying kinds. This is the site development plan. Concept plan. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about the nuances of the variances that are requested for this plan with the variance application. But important to note, as you can see here, the altered zoning line kind of runs along here. They're looking to take the parts of this site that are zoned C2 and rezone them M1. M1 light industrial zoning allows for these storage uses, whereas C2 does not. Again, as we discussed previously and is labeled in some areas on this site, to the north and to the east are auto repair shops. Those are, even though they are uses allowed in the C2 zoning district, considered industrial uses per the Columbia County Code. To the south is, again, an unmanned and largely unimpacted cell tower. Given that there are, to the west is pre-existing self-service storage and RV and boat storage that already exists on the site. So in a way, this is an expansion of the existing use on the site. As you can also see here, and as you could see on the previous slides, although this parcel does have frontage on a couple different roads, this portion of the parcel specifically is shielded from view from any of the public right-of-ways for Lewiston Road or William Few Parkway by those surrounding businesses. And so staff generally is all right with the proposed rezoning of this area for the expanded use of storage on the pre-existing site. It's within the mixed-use activity center character area on the future development plan. While this character area may not necessarily support expanded industrial zoning, other than at its very periphery, as you can see here, it's separated from the edge of that character area from another employment activity center, which does much more readily allow industrial uses. It's separated from the border of those two character areas by one parcel at most, and again, as we already discussed, it's surrounded on all sides by what are considered generally industrial uses within Columbia County Code. And given that it's well shielded from view from any kind of public right-of-way, staff, again, is generally in favor of the request and recommending approval.
Thank you, Dylan. The owner of Gateway Storage LLC or applicant EMC Engineering Services would like to come forward and add anything that was presented? Okay, thank you. Any other member of the audience would like to speak in favor or against this? Can I get a motion, please?
Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of file RZ 25-0904, rezoning a 3-acre portion of the property at 475 Lewiston Road from C2.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next on here we have the H1C7 variance 250903. Dylan?
Yes, sir, and this is the companion variance application that I previously referenced to alter some of the buffers. Again, as I referenced previously, C2 property and M1 property, when they abut one another, the M2 property is required to buffer against those C2 parcels, and so that is the subject of this request. Again, the overall parcel, and an aerial site of the entire parcel as well, and a close-up of the site in question. So again, the topo is a helpful illustration here because, again, the property to the north and the property to the east, as well as the property to the south, both those C2 zonings as well as the S1 zoning have a required 10-foot structural buffer with opaque fencing and a 10-foot wide landscape strip required against them whenever M1 zoning, such as is requested here, kind of butts up against them. The buffer to the east against the existing auto repair business to the east on the subject parcel as well, that buffer will remain intact. However, as you can see running along here, there's a topographical draw that kind of runs downhill from both of the two parcels. If we could move to the next slide. Yeah, so as you can see, that is this area along the northern property line. Effectively, the request in this area is to have this portion of the fence right here extend out of that 10-foot typically required buffer strip. Staff and the applicant both view this as a plausible benefit to that buffer. That is going to help the fence stand a little bit higher up on top of that topography to provide a better visual separation between the two properties. And then along the southern lot line here in this area, there is an existing driveway that serves both this site and this parcel, as well as the site to the south with the existing cell tower on it. So having the buffer stand exactly along that property line would not, and having to relocate that driveway would not, plausibly benefit either of those two parcels. In lieu of that 10-foot landscape strip, the applicant is requesting that this fence right along here, the opaque fencing, serve as all of the required buffer. Again, as we referenced previously, that site is for an unmanned cell tower, so there will likely be negligible impact on that property if there is not a planted buffer and there's already significant existing vegetation on that parcel as well. So in staff's opinion, both of these requests are reasonable and we are recommending approval.
Thank you, Dylan. Would you like to add anything? Okay. Any other member would like to speak in favor or against? Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of file VA 25-0903 variance to alter and reduce buffer requirements at 475 Lewiston.
Second.
I got a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Next on the list, H1C8. This is Chamberlain Road. RZ 25-09-05. This is rezoning from a split zone M1 and RA to S1. This is Will.
Clarence Sheriff's request for rezoning, 480 and 500 Chamberlain Road from M1 and RA to S1 special for a proposed senior living community. This location of the property on the east side of Chamberlain Road, just south of I-20. And again, currently split zone, M1 and RA. Again, the stuff to the east there is zoned PUD for Mill Branch, and everything else is primarily RA around it. Again, aerial view of the site. Plat of the property for 480 Chamberlain and the one for 500. And we'll have a picture of 480 Chamberlain, the site itself, the entrance to it, and 500 Chamberlain is next, showing also the entrance to it. So what we're looking at this evening is a senior living community. Basically, you're going to have independent living, assisted living, and then memory care within one site. The main building here that you can see here, is about 90 here. Oh, it's not going to draw it well. Anyway, that building there is 9,000 square feet. Has about 115 units within it. Includes both includes both assisted living and also memory care. Then all the little boxes you see around it here are all cottages. There's about 80 of those in total. They are planning to phase this development, with the first part being basically taking it and doing everything on this side first and this side second. In terms of buffers, they're using 30-foot buffers around the entire site. In terms of other uses on the site, they'll have docks and a clubhouse and a dog park and things like that. And those are mentioned in the narrative itself. In terms of the buildings themselves, it shows the main building here, again, an example of it. They've already built a few of these across the state. This shows the quadplexes that they'll have. Again, that's part of the cottages. You have a quadplex and also a duplex that we'll see next as well. The one concern that staff has is against the southern buffer here against Mill Branch. That is a 30-foot buffer there. We would like to see an increase in the height of the fence to an 8-foot high fence to provide a better buffer on that side. Again, these are structural buffers, so you will have a fence and plantings for all of these buffers, but again, an increase within that. In terms of senior living communities, they're kind of an interesting use. They're not really mentioned in our comp plan. They're not one that says, here's where they're going to go exactly. So what you normally have is they're normally near stuff, commercial things, perhaps medical, that kind of stuff. You have, like down the street, you have Brandon Wild. Again, they back up to, I believe it's now Piedmont, a medical facility. You have others that are close by here. So again, they're in areas that there's some commercial nearby and that sort of thing. This one, commercial's nearby. Right now, it's not extremely well accessible. There will be a Mill Branch Branch Springs Parkway will be constructed connecting Chamberlain Road to Horizon South in the very near future. So it will be very easy to get there from that standpoint. Take a left out of here. Right now, you take a right and go across I-20. The bigger aspect of this, though, is that it is close to the hospital. It will be the closest senior development to the hospital, about 2.5 miles away. The other thing, too, is that generally speaking, you want people to be able to stay within an area. This is a pretty well-developed part of Columbia County. So having a senior community here does allow people from, let's say, next door Mill Branch or over across the street to move into it, or from other parts of the community to move into this. Again, it is one that there are not many senior housing available in this county. Future development standpoint, it is within the neighborhoods area, but it is adjacent to both an activity center, a mixed-use one, and an employment activity center. Again, you would prefer these to be within a mixed-use or employment center type situation. Maybe not in the middle of it, maybe on the periphery. This situation, you do have a pretty well built out mixed-use center here. Code does allow us to kind of look at this and say, okay, is there a way to kind of say this is moving, basically glomming on this property into that? In this situation, makes some sense to do that. So again, from a future land use standpoint, it makes sense from our standpoint. If we look at again, staff recommends approval with that condition regarding the 8-foot high fence. That concludes staff recommendation.
Thank you, Will. For the owner, Chamberlain Road investors, Denise Allman, George Allman, or applicant Will Creekmore would like to come forward and speak and add anything to the presentation? Okay. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Will Creekmore. Address is 227 Cedarhurst Drive, Canton, Georgia. Thank you all for having me here tonight. So we're really excited about this potential development. So my father and I started Manor Lake Development in 2017 because my grandmother was ailing in age, and we are developers by trade, and we wanted to create a place for her to live. Fortunately, she didn't make it in time for us to open our first facility, but we opened our first facility, and now today we're a family-owned operation, and we own these buildings, we manage them, we build them, and now we have 12 of them. So this would be our 13th community in the state of Georgia. So we're locally owned. We're not some private equity group out of New York or Chicago or something like that. You know, we're locally owned and operated. And so we're really excited about this. You know, what you're looking at here on your screen right now is the main building right here is a one-story building with real rock on the architecture. That's not veneer, that's real rock with hardy plank, architectural shingles. We do fountains, we do, you can see right there, we do all these raised garden beds, and the residents love those garden beds because they do all these garden clubs, and then they will, they'll raise all these vegetables, and we'll use those vegetables in the kitchen. So the chef will, you know, get the herbs and the vegetables and all that out of there, so it's really cool. So the residents can really feel involved with the food that they're eating. And then on the cottages, you know, they are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage, and these residents don't ever drive. They really, because they stay put. Because if you look at the site plan again, if you want to go back to that site plan, we'll have a clubhouse on site for the independent living residents, and that's where they hang out. That's where they get their meals. That's where they have their activities as well. That's where they'll have their musicians, their church services, you know, so we'll talk with all the church people around town. We'll have educational speakers come in. And so, you know, we try to enrich the people that live in our community. And, you know, you brought up a great point on, Will, we're right down the street from the hospital, which is great. We're right around this whole area where there's a lot of families. And we had an excellent market study right here done by Jones Lang LaSalle, which is a huge global real estate company that said, y'all need one of these here. That's why we're here. And we've been looking here for 2 years now. We actually had a piece of land under contract across state lines over in Aiken that we were trying to do, and we killed it because we couldn't get the sewer capacity. We were lucky enough to find this land, and actually I'm glad we find this land. This is a better piece of dirt. And so we're really happy to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Do you have any more members that would like to come forward and speak in favor or against? Thank you.
I think she's in favor of it.
I think she is in favor of this. Any others that would like to come forward and speak in favor? If you need to add something additional that hadn't been mentioned, you're welcome to do that.
Good evening, members. Ben Waterloo. I live at 4085 Ellington Drive in Canterbury Farms, just down the street from this proposed development. In fact, I moved up here about 9 years ago this time in the military, so I've been here for about 15 years total. used to run up to Stony Creek Farm like every day. It was a great run up the hill, down the street, loved it. One of the problems that we had when we first moved down here was that intersection at it's William Few and Chamblin. Traffic was really, really bad when that was a three-way stop, so thank y'all for putting in the traffic light. But now, with the growth and development that's continued to the west, traffic on William Few Road and on Chamblin Road is really, really bad. In the morning, it can take 20 minutes to get from where Stony Creek Farm is, like right down there at the south or the bottom part of that map, to the intersection, just to get there. In the evening, traffic line for turning onto Chamblin or proceeding through the intersection onto or past where the Uchee Creek Trail is can take 15 or 20 minutes to get from Kroger to that intersection. It's bad. And so my feeling is this is a great addition. I'm not arguing against seniors having a senior living center in Columbia County, and I'm not even arguing against it happening here at this site. I'm arguing against it happening right now. Until we get that second proposed road that you guys have coming from Stony Creek that's gonna butt right into Canterbury Farms Parkway, and until we get hopefully, preferably sidewalks and a wider William Few up there on the top of your map, it's just not feasible for traffic to be able to have a shift workers coming in and out of that facility in the morning and in the evening. It's also very difficult for emergency situations if they were to happen during rush hour in the morning or the evening. Yeah, the hospital's 2.5 miles away, but it'll still take 20 plus minutes to get there because there's only one lane. There's nowhere for the cars to get off the road to get out of the way of the ambulances. So for those reasons, right now is not a great time for this facility. 2-3 years down the road, if we have William Few wider, if we have Chamblin Road, have that bridge be 2 lanes or 4 lanes instead of just 2. And if you've been on that bridge, that is a very narrow bridge. There's not much of a pedestrian shoulder on either side of it. So if there's cars trapped on it, like happens all the time in the morning and in the evening, the ambulances just can't get through there. So for a lot of reasons, right now is not a great time for this facility. A couple years down the road, we get the infrastructure in place. Great, no issues. But right now, that horse farm that used to be there, or kind of still is there, if we do this facility now, we are putting the cart in front of that horse. And that's not the way we should build this. Thank you.
Okay, any other member of the audience would like to speak in favor or against?
Wasn't planning this, Joanne Murdoch again. Senior community living doesn't add to traffic like regular housing does. I'm completely in support of this project. I think we need more of them around town. It could help with the overflow of traffic because they produce less traffic. So hope y'all approve it.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Any
one more
oth-
thing.
Okay, any other member?
Yep.
Rebuttal.
First of all, thank you. Get it? But yes, I mean, traffic is always an issue, and we understand that, and we run traffic studies, and we understand what the issues are with traffic. And you mentioned about, shift workers and things like that, and we run in 3 different shifts, and so that minimizes the amount of workers that are going in and out on Chamblin Road, so it'll be less and it'll be more during the first shift, 'cause that's your main shift. Then it cuts down on second shift and third shift. And as I mentioned before, based on all of our traffic study data, we don't have a lot of drivers, even in our independent living drivers. They don't drive. They might drive in the morning to go to a doctor's appointment, but that's it. But then a lot of our independent living drivers, so we also have a community bus. And that community bus takes our all of our residents, independent living, assisted living, memory care, takes them out to their doctor's appointments, and they all use that. So that minimizes the amount of cars that are on the road. So that's one thing that we really try to focus on, is trying to help out with the car load that we have. But, you know, this is a very important need for this county based on, from what I've heard from locals, and from what I've from talking with other, other people. I mean, this is, I think it's a great use for this. And by the way, this is not going to be built tomorrow. This is going to take like 24 months to build. So when you're saying you're waiting for them to build this and, these improvements years from now, we're going to be built years from now. So it's going to be a while. So I'll let you know. So.
Thank you. Thank you. We have any questions?
Yes, sir.
So one thing on the improvement side, Branch Springs Parkway, we're supposed to be moving dirt on that first quarter of next year, 2026. Should be moving dirt soon, so that's 2 years probably till finishing. So again, just be aware of that.
That'll connect Chamberlain Parkway to Horizon South, and then also north to Gateway Boulevard, sorry, Drew Blank.
Good.
That'll
Thank
get
you.
that connection.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval with condition to file RZ 25-0905, rezoning properties at 480 and 500 Chamberlain Road from M1 and RA to S1 for senior living community.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. All right. Last item on the agenda tonight, H1C9, RZ250906, rezoning from a split zone C2 and R4 to S1 off of Ridge Road. Will?
There's sheriff's request for rezoning for a portion of property off Ridge Road, about 7.86 acres from C2 and R4 to S1 special for proposed RV and boat storage facility. Be a consistent theme this evening. Shows the property, again, the intersection of Ridge Road and Washington Road. We've seen this one before a few months ago. They've done some revisions to the plan. We'll be seeing here in a moment. Again, currently split zones C2 and R4. You have some more split zones to the north, also C2 and R4, then primarily R4 around it, then some RA across the street on the south side of the intersection. Aerial view of the site itself, and the plat of the overall property, and the overall concept plan. So the biggest thing from before, they have now taken out about 2 3/4 acres up here will remain R4. Gives a very large buffer in between these properties and others. We'll talk about maybe a proposed condition of that here in a moment. We have primarily covered storage on this site, about, I believe it was 264 covered or open air sites on this, so it has gone down in size in some regards. The biggest thing, though, that's very different is that we have an entrance on Ridge Road, and then you can't go back out Ridge Road. You can only come out Washington Road, so you have to drive through it and then come out that side, and it's only a right out on Washington Road. You cannot turn left. So that's one of the big, that's probably, in my opinion, the biggest change that they've done with this is the transportation side of things. In terms of overall development, you do have a 20-foot buffer along the roads, 30 feet along the back side of it. Again, fairly standard for any type of storage use with that. Again, you do have this piece up here that's remaining R4. So again, it's one of those that the amount of work, or the amount of changes that have been done to it, staff appreciates that. They have listened to the community in some regards. It is not, changing it to have less is one of those things that's looked favorably upon. Again, we're still at the same point we were before with the future land use map. Again, like neighborhood, it does allow for there to be marinas and boat storage and things, but again, typically these have been next to the lake. That's kind of how we've seen it develop here. This is not the case with this one. Again, we are down the street from this community crossroads, this rural one. that actually has quite a bit of boat storage in it, but also has a lot isn't built out yet. The previous one we talked about, being able to have a crossroads or an area move around a little bit. In this situation, staff doesn't think there's been enough development within this area to actually have that happen. Can't draw anymore. Actually, no, it blends in. Look at that. Anyway, so staff recommends disapproval of this request. There is a condition, though, or two conditions, excuse me. There is one that will require a full access driveway to Ridge Road if it is approved. That's from traffic. They are not real keen on only having entrance on Ridge Road. They want one that has both. GDOT controls Washington Road. We have no control over that. We have a suspicion they're probably not going to be okay with that right out. But again, we have no control over that. And the last, or the section there from planning, is that the R4 portion of the property shall remain as a natural buffer and shall not be developed. At a very large buffer if it is approved. And staff, that concludes staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Owner applicant Meister Marvin LLC would like to come forward and add anything to the presentation. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Matthew Paget, 3499 Heatherstone Way, here in Martinez, here representing the LLC and the applicant. As we've identified, that this has been before the board before. We heard the concerns of the board. We've heard the concerns of residents of this area, of Appling and everything else that we've attempted to do. And so we do feel that this has been a drastic change, a reduction in scope. It certainly has made accommodations that we feel were addressed directly at the issues and concerns we've heard before. The identity of the right-in and right-out system, I'm sorry, the Ridge Road entrance and the right-out system on the Washington Road was in direct response to concerns about traffic. As we've identified and has been identified in the, I believe in both recommendations, it is not an issue of traffic according to any of the folks that would give that opinion here, other than obviously residents that may have voiced that before. And so my clients are all ears when it comes to traffic. If they say they want both in, both out on Ridge Road, if they want something different on Washington Road, all of that's completely amenable. We have no concerns there. This was presented not only because it works, but because we do think that it addresses some of the concerns that were brought to us and on our initial application. The other much larger concession that's made, and certainly one that we have no problem with, the staff recommendation, is that natural buffer, that 2.76 acres that's identified, was made directly in response to the previous concerns. And so I think my folks are here. They are Columbia County residents. They own this property. Both of my clients, both of the members of the LLC have been residents here their entire life, other than when Brad was serving combat veteran. I mean, these are not folks that are coming in trying to make a quick buck. This is not major development of Appling. We're not trying to change the character of what we've got going on here. We've got dirt that they own. They want to put to use, and I do think that they could use it in this area and be able to be productive, and they're not going anywhere. They're not looking to sell this. This isn't how we're going to, now suddenly expand and buy up 10 more lots. This is the only thing that they have planned out this direction in Appling. Additionally, both the Lake neighborhood and the community crossroads identified from the comprehensive plan in 2035, both in the primary future land uses specifically identify boat and RV storage according to the special use designation. So I mean, it's not gone without contemplation that exactly where this is could service exactly what we're seeking to do here, being boat and RV storage. And I'm not one that's usually big on visual aids, but I do think that concept art, and I don't know if it made it in the application, is important. I think it shows that we're not looking to put up wrought iron. We're not looking to put up chain link fence. This isn't going to, nobody's seeking to put a gravel lot. I mean, this is going to be a fully developed RV and boat storage that's intended to be there and last. Of course, it's concept art. I know that it's a pie in the sky to some degree, but I say that very genuinely, meaning that my folks intend to put real money into this, that this is not an opportunity just to make the first opportunity. I mean, this is not, or I'm sorry, the first development they can. It's not to put a strip mall. It's not to put a Dollar General. My folks are here that this is a plan. This is a concept that they put money, time, and effort into, and they want to develop it and develop it the right way. I mean, I think that my folks are here to stay. They're Columbia County residents. This is, I mean, all they're seeking is to do something that their compatriots, other folks they know would use, and I think this is a good use of this property that clearly the front half is already contemplated to be commercial in nature, so it's not a drastic change, despite how it may look on the petition to change this overall. Additionally, this is not going to be a disruptive use. This is not something that's going to have a pile of traffic coming in and out. I think that compared to the use it's presently zoned for, it's about 1/8 the estimated traffic of what it could be used for if it was the commercial and residential mixed use it presently is, if that was fully developed. We're not looking to expand the footprint any further than it needs to be to operate. We've seen a drastic reduction from my folks because they want to be very cognizant of the community. They've spoken to folks, they've gotten involved, they've certainly spoken to the neighbors. They've made these accommodations to try to facilitate with the neighbors, and I've seen responses from the neighbors that appreciate, and I've seen responses from this planning and zoning staff that appreciate the changes that have been made. And so my folks are here, they're amenable to these conditions, and they would certainly seek approval with those conditions as well. I reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal.
Thank you. Any other member of the audience would like to speak in favor or against? State your name and address, please, for the record.
I'm John Bryan, and I live at 6473 Ridge Road. 82% of the plan is contiguous with my property. I own 7.35 acres, 17 rather, my family and I. Been there for over 17 years. I'm not speaking on just private concern, I'm speaking as well on behalf of our community. As we were all gathered here just 4 months ago, we heard the first option and opportunity. I'm in appreciation for the revision and the attempt that the builder has offered, and even some of the, particularly the buffer zone, to try to help in regard to the residential buffer that could be of advantage as well. However, we are dealing with, as Mr. Paget has said, we are dealing with Columbia County residents. We're dealing with those who have been there for years and will remain as well. So that dirt is important to us as it would be for any developer as well. In appreciation for the men who have put together the plan, we too have an appreciation for where we live and how we come and go each day. There is just that one street where we can come and where we can go out and where we can come in as well. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it's not just the traffic. Traffic is not the issue, safety is the issue. We dealt with this at the first attempt and dealt with it coming over the hill as traffic comes down from Washington Road. And the exit there would, yes, it's not turning left, but it's turning right, and they would need to make a U-turn to come back if they were headed back toward back toward the lake, in the opposite direction, back toward the city. So as before, I think our primary concern as the citizens who are here as well, and others may want to speak, as you may choose to allow that, is our primary concern is safety. There's also the side issue. Been a change in the development of that will be covered by someone else. Sound is still there. I mean, it's not a matter of, as Mr. Paget said, just a matter of, it's not just a gravel lot. That's true. It's a lot of gravel is what it is. It's crush and run. And so affecting, of course, those who are closer by, yes, but also the development of the sound and continues to create that. So second attempt, grateful for the desire and attempt to bring it about to get a positive response, but we're still dealing, again, with the primary concern of safety and the fact that the community is mainly opposed. That's all.
Thank you. We have any other member of the audience against this who'd like to come forward and speak? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Julie Harrison. I live at 52 Chico Lane. Like Mr. Byron, I was here last time talking about the same thing, and we do appreciate the changes that were made. Ridge Road is a residential area, not just we have a weekend house here. We live here. We go to work. We drive down a two-lane road, a two-lane curvy road with a lot of trees on the side. And it's narrow. It's our only way in, and it's our only way out. So if you were to have an inn on Ridge Road and there was a wreck, emergency vehicles couldn't get to us. We couldn't get out in an emergency. We would definitely be blocked on that in and out. The new development plan has downgraded the quality of the development in the sense that it went from a high-quality Class A marina and RV holding facility with enclosed buildings constructed using insulated metal panels to a Class A covered RV and boat facility, fully covered open-air structures. So the original designs, pictures, are not what they're proposing tonight. Had garage doors, everything was closed. Now it's not. So it's a downgrade from the facility. The right turnout on to Washington Road, once again, it's a safety issue. GDOT is not going to approve that. What is going to prevent someone from turning left? If we exit on Washington Road, turn right, we're going to go up, somewhere we've got to make a U-turn and come back down. But, well, nobody's really coming. I think I'm just going to go left. Nobody will see me. There's not a median. And as Will stated, GDOT's a totally entire entity. So you could say here that, okay, yes, we approve this. You can have the in and out, the in on Ridge Road. You can only go out on Washington Road and turn right. But then Georgia DOT could come back and say, no, you can't do that. You've got to have full access. And where this out is, according to the map, is right, very close to the blind spot that is coming down from Lincolnton. And as I stated last time, it takes 5 seconds going 65 miles per hour to get from that blind spot to Ridge Road. So I don't see how that sounds safer. I just don't see where the traffic and safety options has been applied. There's another commercially zoned property, a half a mile down Ridge Road, 467 Washington Road, 7.22 acres, the same size as the concept that he's doing tonight, but it's already zoned commercial. He could go in there and do that. You've got Washington Road coming in and out. You're away from the blind spot. We are not against development. We would welcome something on the commercial side. We would welcome new neighbors on the residential side. We just don't believe that RVs, trucks pulling trailers, cars pulling trailers with boats, big boats, is what we need here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member would like to come forward and speak?
I'm Lee Horacek, 4099 Sankin Road. The fellows came by with a petition early on to try to sell this idea. And I asked them, well, why would we want this? And they told us about how it was going to be well-maintained and pretty and attractive, and it would keep undesirable elements out and this kind of thing. And I don't know anybody that's ever looked at a boat storage yard and thought, that really looks nice. I mean, this is going to be an irreversible eyesore. It's impinging or encroaching well down Ridge Road into what had been residential area. This is a gross departure from anything that's in that area. There's nothing that looks like this. The safety issue that's mentioned before, it's hard enough I have to go out Ridge Road onto Washington Road to come into town when I come in. It's hard enough to make that left turn from Ridge Road going toward town. You move toward the crest of that hill, you're in further trouble. Pulling a trailer, you're really in trouble. So this is solving a problem we don't have. This is a gross departure from what this area is. Somebody showed a picture early on of trees, pristine area. Now we're going to have that. Gravel with huts and boats stored there, and it's a slippery slope. We let this happen, it doesn't get any better. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would you like to give you 1 minute, please? In response to choosing another location, my clients don't own that other location. We don't have 7 additional acres of dirt a mile down. Of course, that would be convenient and it would solve every solution, but we don't own that dirt. That's not the reason why we're here submitting this plan today.
Additionally, this is already zoned commercial for part of this property, that this property can be developed presently. We are seeking to develop it in a way that we think would keep with what you would use this portion of Washington Road for, heading towards the lake and exactly this storage and what we're seeking here. Additionally, there's several concerns voiced of fear about pulling trailers and things of that nature. There's additional boat and RV storage all over this, and I believe on Ridge Road itself, if I'm not mistaken. So while it would be a new use in a new location where trailers may be leaving from, it is not dissimilar from how all of that area and most of Appling, if not most of Columbia County, is used every day. And so I understand the concerns, we acknowledge the concerns, and certainly have made adjustments we think lead to addressing that concern as best we can, but it is not a resolution, or it's not such a drastic change that it's going to materially affect where we are on this and how it would affect traffic, as evidenced by the lack of concern or anybody else that's raising the objection on the county side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend disapproval of file RZ 250906, rezoning a 7.86 acre portion of tax map 024, parcel 057 off Ridge Road from C2 to R4 to S1 for RV and boat storage.
Second.
I got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor of disapproval, raise your right hand. Motion carries 3-1. Okay. I don't see Mr. County Attorney Driver here tonight. Any other staff or commissioner comments? Any other public comments or participation? I'd like to get a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries, we're adjourned.